Okay, so let's see. I think I have the clicker here. Let's see, does it work? Oh, it does. Thank you. So last week we talked about we all got a book. By the way, if you guys did not get a book, if you weren't here last week or last 2 weeks, raise your hand. And Graham and Carla, we have some extra books for you. We need a couple books over here. Where's Carla? I hate putting Carla. Oh, okay, Carla's. Graham, I'll put you in charge. Do you mind just Graham? Graham's over here. You guys can see Graham, and he can get you a book if you don't have one. Um, but just as a quick recap, if you haven't read the book, we're talking about 4 habits that help you shrink the joy gap in your marriage. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. Last week we talked about, as Graham mentioned, playing together and showing appreciation in your marriage. This week, we're going to talk about, last week we talked about appreciation. This week we're going to talk about playing together and having fun in your marriage. And this is something I'm really passionate about. I love having fun with my wife, Chrissy, and she is just an incredible person. And I do feel that God has really blessed our marriage with the joy that we have in our marriage. So I'm very fortunate in that sense. Next week, Graham and Carla are going to be talking about listening to emotion. I read this book, and God spoke to me about this. And listening to emotion, really understanding your spouse and being anchored when you're talking to your spouse. It's so important. And I even applied this to my daughter the other day as well when she was angry about something with one of her roommates. But rather than trying to, justify her anger, what I did was I said, you know what, I need to listen to what her emotions are first. So we're going to talk about that next week. I'm excited about that. I also want to just thank you guys for the individuals who had the opportunity to work on the appreciation exercises this week. I heard great testimony. It warms my heart that God is working in our marriages by just little things of showing appreciation to our spouse. I heard couples going to a hot tub together and couples getting something on a yeah, no, they were clothed, I think. So but a couple that started walking together on once a week, and they put it on the calendar. They're going to start doing that once a week. And a couple that's biking together. And it just warms my heart to hear these stories because, as Graham said, I feel like God is going to bless that intentionality, that effort you're putting in. So thank you guys for doing that. We talked a little bit about the 3x3x3 exercise, showing maybe before you go to bed, listing out things you appreciate about your spouse, listing out 3 things you appreciate about your day, and listing out 3 things about what God is doing in your life. So those are some of the things as a recap from next week. So this week, let's see here. Yeah, we're going to talk about joy through playing together. And before I do this, I was going through my presentation with my wife, and she had a really good comment, which I was so grateful for because it meant a lot. Joy in your marriage is different for each person. The fun you have playing together is different per person. And I'll go through that today, but what might be fun for me might be pretty boring for somebody else, or, I would never do that. But that's what I want you guys to kind of get across today. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. Let's see. The first part that I want to talk about, and I like kind of Graham's suggestion about asking a question. And the question is, what do you do today to keep fun in your marriage? And you can just shout it out. I just want to hear a couple things. This table. Anything? I'm picking on this table. What's that? Skiing? Skiing together? Yeah. I'd be afraid to break a bone if I did that now, but it is fun. Yeah. What else? What do you do? I'm sorry? Cook. Yeah. Talking to Graham and Carla, I know that's one of the things Carla really enjoys is just being in the kitchen together, cooking meals together. Anybody else? Hiking? Oh, Sharks game. I thought you were talking about being in a shark tank. I'm like, that's not a lot of fun. But yeah, the Sharks game, even if they aren't having the best season, that is a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. So those are great examples. And we're going to kind of talk into that today. And And one of the things I want to talk about, and I want to be sensitive to this, is if you look at what we're going to talk about and you say, hey, Dan, you know what? We have fun in our marriage, but we just don't have fun all the time. That's fine. And what I want you to consider is if you were looking at the fun, if there's a fun scale in your marriage and you were to rate that today, and you say, you know what, Dan, my fun scale is at a 2 today. That's fine. All I want you to consider and challenge you today is let's maybe move that fun scale to, instead of a 2, let's move it to a 3 or 4. If you're at a 7 or 8, let's move it to a 9 or 10, okay? So consider that as we're talking about that. I don't expect you to be a 1, and then by the time we're done today, you're going to be a 10 by the end of next week. That's not how it works. But it's about taking those baby steps, right? Inviting God into your marriage to have that fun together. So we'll talk about that. So the next slide, let's see, here we go. Playing together. So I personally feel the longer we've been married, the more important it is to keep the joy in your marriage. And I think that's hard, right? It's hard. It's easy when we first get married. If you think back when you first got married, I feel like having fun in your marriage was pretty easy. But as you get older and you grow older and you kind of get set more in your ways, that's harder and harder to do. And what I'm going to talk a little bit about today is how can we be more intentional with our time together to have more fun in what we're doing. And by doing that, inviting joy to come into our marriage. Last week, we talked a little bit about the joy gap. If you had a chance to read the book, that's the first chapter of the book. And the joy gap is all about having joy in your marriage and decreasing the gap between periods of tension or anger or fighting in your marriage. The more joy you have in your marriage, the smaller that joy gap is. And what's important about that I wanted to stress is that when you do get into an argument, when you do get into a fight or a disagreement, the recovery time or the rebound time to get back into that joy in your marriage is a lot faster. That's the importance of it. And that's where I challenge all of you. If you've not read the book, read that first chapter. Just get it going. See if you can get it on the calendar again to start talking about that with your spouse. Really good. It really does help you return to that joy sooner. And part of me being up here on stage, I've made sure I've read the book several times. And so I see it working in my marriage with Chrissy. It makes me more purposeful in my day-to-day on how I'm looking at Chrissy and how I perceive her. So that's the goal. The goal is to increase the fun you have in your marriage and doing that intentionally to find ways to have fun together. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. So next slide here. We're going to talk about 3 things today. This should be pretty interesting. Three practical ways to increase joy in your marriage. 1 is special events. 2 is relational sex. And 3 is social routines. I think the second one is why Chrissy's not sitting next to me this time. So, but these are all 3 things. And I was reading the book. What I realized too about these 3 things. The first one, special events. Those are things that maybe happen a couple times a year. The relational sex things, that's something that maybe we want to participate in a couple times a week. And the social routines, that's something maybe we can get some kind of routine going every day. So we'll talk about that. The first one, special events. And I was so proud. Wait, let me go back. I was so proud about this animation I added. Let's see. Watch this. All right, here we go. There we go. Valentine's Day. So that took me about 25 minutes to figure out. So Valentine's Day is coming up. What a great opportunity to be intentional about bringing fun and joy into your marriage. One of the things, just as a quick cheat, the Venture Marriage Retreat is coming up. Hey, honey, guess what I got you for Valentine's Day? We're going to the retreat together. So that's an easy way. Part of these special routines and doing things together is what I like about special events and bringing joy to your marriage is it's something you get on the calendar. It's something that you can anticipate. I know a lot of us are here in Silicon Valley. We all work very hard. And so having something on the calendar to look forward to. on those tough days at work. Christy and I just got back from a trip to Disneyland, and our whole family went to Disneyland. And we've been planning that for about 3 or 4 months, maybe 4 or 5. And it was just really nice to have that event, that family get together on the calendar. It was something to look forward to. There was anticipation and excitement with it, not only in my marriage with Chrissy, but with my family as well. So those special event holidays, anniversaries, Christmas celebrations, family get-togethers, those are all special things where we can build that joy and fun into our marriage. And so Valentine's is one of them. Obviously, my daughter's going to be graduating in July. And again, that's just another vacation we have coming up. And I look at that as an investment in my marriage. Yes, it costs money. Airbnb, we got an Airbnb for that, and it's investment. But those are memories that Chrissy and I can talk about, and those are things we can review as a couple. And that's, again, an opportunity to invite joy into your marriage. So those are a couple things that revolve around vacations, special outings. Next one, relational sex. And at first I was like, this kind of, Carla set me up to talk on this topic. And so I'm not an expert on this. I wish I was, but I'm not. But as I was preparing for this, I realized this is a really important topic in a lot of marriages. And I do want to just kind of take a step back. I know this is not an easy topic. Some of us have maybe trauma from, a background growing up in our life. And so being relational intimately with your spouse can be a difficult thing sometimes. And I think a lot of it is when we're together, it's an opportunity to be connected with your spouse. And I go back to last week's message about that circuitry where there's that switch in the back of your neck where you're anchored and connected with your spouse. That's what relational sex is about. It's not just about sex, but it's about being close and connected with your spouse. I look at it as being anchored and present when I'm with Chrissy. And I kind of look at it at different things. It can be holding each other in bed. It can be kissing. It can be massage. One of my favorite things, and I would categorize this in this section, is I just like laying in bed with Chrissy and we watch movies in bed. That's not sex, but that's time where I'm close and intimate with Chrissy and we're next to each other. We may not be talking all the time, but we're there with each other, and that means a lot to me as well. So also, there's joy bonding, right? We talked last week a little bit about what joy bonding is. That's that attraction that brings us together. And I do feel that that's a very important part in having a close relationship with your spouse. Your spouse is like your best friend, and you want to be close to your spouse. And I think the relational sex is a very important part about it. One of the things I want to talk about is if you are not in a position in your marriage today or right now where you are close to your spouse relationally when it comes to intimacy and sex, I want you guys to consider praying about that. That's not something, I remember Christy and I were reading a book, and I think it might have been, I don't remember what book it was, but one of the things it said was like, when you're having sex, pray to God. And I'm thinking, oh no, that sounds kind of weird about that. But I think what the book was talking about was asking God to bless that part of your marriage. Again, it's an opportunity to have grace and fulfillment in your marriage. If you're struggling with that area in your marriage, pray about it. See a counselor. I know Venture has programs for men and women who might be going through different things in their marriage. So there's a lot of opportunities where you can seek help in that area. But there's also people like Mark and Ruth who do love and respect. And one of the sections there is about having good intimacy in your marriage as well. I jokingly call Mark's wife Dr. Ruth because she's so good at like talking about, and comfortable talking about intimacy in your marriage. So there's also Graham and Carla. There's me. Please come to us, though, if that's an area where you struggle in your marriage. And it is very important. But I do ask that you would pray about that and ask God to come into your marriage in that area. So that's relational sex. The other part, this is my favorite part, social routines. And I don't know if you see this picture. That's Craig Holgren. Is Craig here? Yeah, there he is. So I got Craig on here, and I love this. Part of playing together is the social routines. Just having fun together. I do feel like that's a very strong foundation in our marriages, is that we spend time having fun together. And one of the things, Athena sent me a note, and it was the timing was so much God, because I was like thinking, okay, what am I going to talk about? And she sent me these pictures, and she said, okay, well, in our family, in Craig and Athena's family, they have this rubber chicken. You know the old comedians, the rubber chickens, you squeeze them and they make really crazy noise. Well, every year, and I think I got this story right. If not, Craig, please forgive me. But they set up a Christmas tree, and somewhere in the Christmas tree, Craig hides this rubber chicken. And so part of the family tradition is find the rubber chicken. And I guess one year the chicken leg fell off, and you can kind of see it right here. This is the chicken leg. And so it's kind of a fun thing. Athena and Craig hide the chicken leg and in mysterious places, and they find it throughout their day. And on a recent business trip that Craig had, Athena put the chicken leg in his coat pocket. Hopefully TSA didn't have any issues with that. I thought that would be pretty funny. But she put the chicken leg in his coat pocket, and then he went around taking pictures all around his trip with the chicken leg. And I thought, what a great example. It's silly, but it's fun, right? And it brings laughter. And that's really, to me, a great example of what having fun in your marriage can be about. Let's see. A couple of other things. One is just kind of fun activities together. I mentioned last week, Chrissy and I go for a run and a walk multiple times a week. And some of the fun that I really look forward to is just our date time together. We talk. We have coffee together, and we're getting our exercise in. So it's something that I really look forward to. Another thing is we have family nights when our daughters are home. We play cards together. We have card games together, pickleball, hiking. There's a lot of different things. So we're going to kind of talk about that. What are things we can do in our marriage that are not only habits that we like to do, but what's something new that maybe we can start thinking about doing together? That's kind of the key here. It's not just, hey, we used to do this, we used to do that. It's coming together. The other thing, Chrissy actually came across this game, and actually I think it's kind of cool. I was going to order it and then have it for today, but I just didn't do it. The game is called Talking Point. It's like a card game, and what it is it's questions on these little cards, like almost playing cards. And it's about 15 different areas in your life. It's designed to help deepen your relationship through like questions like trust and respect. Talks about your love languages. And they're just questions that you propose to your wife that just gives you an opportunity to talk about. So I'd be happy to share that if you have questions. But again, the game is called Talking Point. And then doing activities together. I kind of talked about that together. Let's see, what else did I? Oh, also the book. The book in front of you also has a lot of different exercises on how to have fun together. Different things you can do in your marriage as well. So I do advise you to take a look at that. Now, I do bring this up not just to get some, ahs and oohs, but this is Dusty, and that's Ollie. And Ollie is Craig and Athena's dog. And some of you guys know our dogs. They're best friends. And the reason I bring this up is having a dog, the book talks about this, or even a cat, it gives you an opportunity to walk that dog. And so this is something I look forward to. This is one of the funnest things I love doing with Chrissy is walking my dog or my dogs every night after dinner. That's something I like to do. We don't do it all the time, but I really enjoy that time together. It helps me digest my food. It gets me an exercise. And it gets our dogs out as well. And it's a great time to kind of recap my day with Chrissy as well. So that's just another idea. The other thing I wanted to share is, oops, I'm doing two different slideshows here. There we go, this one. This is a picture of me and my girls and my wife. And this was on October 16th, 2016. And this was one of the best days of my life. And I share this because one of the things we're going to talk about is what are our hobbies and what can we do together with our spouse? Well, one of my hobbies in 2016 was I wanted to do a triathlon. And it was actually, I decided to do that a couple months after I was diagnosed with colon cancer. And I was like, you know what, Chrissy? I don't want this cancer to defeat me. I want to do a triathlon. And so I signed up for this triathlon. I spent about 8 to 10 months training for it. It was 70.3 miles total, so it's a half Ironman. But I did the triathlon, and what was the best moment for me was not only accomplishing it, but at the very end, at the finish line, as I crossed that finish line, I had my wife, my daughters there, and it just brought me so much joy because this was a hobby or a passion that I love doing. This was something fun I love doing, and my spouse and my family were there to support me on that. So we're going to talk about how do we support our husbands or our spouses when we like to do something, but maybe our spouse doesn't always like to do it. So, and then the cool thing was my wife and my daughter actually did a couple triathlons after this, and we did them all together. So that was a really fun time as well. Let's see. Oh, the other thing is just going out with friends and family. I know a lot of you, it's Super Bowl Sunday. You guys might be going out with people. We were supposed to go out today to a Super Bowl party as well, but someone got sick. So we're not doing that, but we love doing that. We love hanging out with our venture group. Chrissy went and had tea with a couple people from church yesterday. She really enjoyed that. So having these outings, they really do bring you joy. So I want you guys to start thinking about that, is what can we start doing together as couples in these areas? Those are kind of the main things. Now, the last thing we're going to do is the exercise. And my talk today was a little bit shorter, but I want to give us more time to work in our groups together. But the exercise today will be pretty similar to what we did last week about being intentional with what we have. So in front of you, you have a sheet of paper, and I think I wrote out, write out 3 to 5 hobbies, activities, or interests that you have that you like to do. So 3 to 5 things that you like to do. And it doesn't have to be things that you like to do with your spouse. These are 3 to 5 things that you like to do. An example for me was I like going for walks after dinner, as I talked about. I like watching movies together. I talked about that when we're in bed together. I like going out on day trips, going to Santa Cruz or Carmel with our dogs. So those are things. Chrissy got to talk about she likes going on getaways. She likes exercising together. She likes roller skating and listening to live music. So those are some examples of 3 to 5 activities that we like to do. The next step after that is I want you guys to come up with something either related to your activities or hobbies or something you can come to agreement on that you can do together. One of the people in our group, I love this story. She loves going to Costco on a Friday night. And if any of you guys live around here and you know where the Costco is by off Almaden Expressway, I would never go there on a Friday night. But this tells you what venture marriage is doing to this couple, because the husband agreed to do that on a Friday night, go to Costco in that Almaden Valley shopping center. And to me, that's love, right? That's commitment. And so, but that's what I'm talking about. What are things that you can do with your spouse that you can do together? And if you don't come to an agreement, another example is, hey, out of your 3 to 5 things you can do together, let's pick one thing off my husband's that we can do together and one thing off my spouse's we can do together. So that's kind of what I want you guys to talk about as well. And again, the goal here is if the fun level is 1 or 2 in your marriage, I don't expect you to go up to 10 or 11. Just try and take it up a notch, right? And again, your fun might be different than my fun, right? Cooking in the kitchen, whatever it is, I want you guys to talk about that. So for the next 10, 15 minutes, that's what I want you to do. Talk with your wife about these 3 to 5 things that you want to do. And then again, I want you guys to be intentional about it. Get something on the calendar where you can do your activity together and get that written down. And then the other part, after we're done, I can come up here and remind you guys, but one of the group discussions we'll talk about after we're done with this is what did you do together before you got married that was fun, right? What did you do before you got married? What did you do together to have fun? And then how can you kind of mirror that today? So those are the kind of the activities. We do have about 20, 30 minutes to do that. So why don't you guys break out, and then once you're done writing everything out, talking over with your spouse, then we'll break out in our groups as well. Thank you guys very much.